Good morning and welcome to Bad Bat Hikes. As you can see, I have chopped my hair off. So, got about, I don't know, that much chopped off. So, we're looking fresh. We're looking good. And if you are wondering why I'm sitting behind my couch, this is the best lighting I've got in the house currently. So, here we are. But today's video, I'm going to talk about the gear that I ended up with at the end of my AT through hike. And Miss Kitty is already playing with the straps on my bag. Love that. So if she makes an appearance, enjoy. So strap in, get a snack, get a beverage. This is gonna be a long one because I'm going to talk all about everything I had on me when I hit 2,100 miles. If you missed it in my vlogs, the last week of my hike, I sent a lot of this stuff home to try to go ultralight. I put big quotes around that because people are gonna come for me that it wasn't actually ultralight, but ultralight for me for that last week. So this is the gear that I considered I was ending with and gear that I would pack again for another through hike. So let's get into it, shall we? So before we even start here, I want to talk about what I was wearing for most of trail. So we can start from the top. Sure, we'll start from the top, and I don't even have it on me, so I'll have to talk about it. So starting from the top of my head, a lot of the time on trail I wore a baseball cap that had a logo on it from Shake Shack. No, I never worked at Shake Shack. That hat was purchased many moons ago when the New York location of Shake Shack was one of the very first ones, and it was the only sporty collapsible hat I owned. So that was on top. Next was my shirt. I wore this sun hoodie. So it's like a slicky, breathable, keep you cool material from a company called Town Shirt. You can tell this is one of their older ones because the logo is still on the wrist and not up on the chest area. But I wore this shirt every single 188 days of my through hike, every single one, and I will recommend this shirt again and again and again. I am not sponsored by them, would love to be, but I'm not sponsored by them, but I loved this shirt. There is very little wear and tear. Like I said, I wore it every single day. I loved the hood. I could put it up and keep the bugs off of me and the sun off of my neck. It has thumb holes, so when the mosquitoes were attacking my hands, I could at least cover that. I love this shirt. There is a kind of like a hoodie pocket that I did not utilize a lot because I tucked my shirt in every single day. It's great. I love this shirt. I have plans to literally frame it because I've washed it twice and it still kind of stinks. So that is one flaw. But when you wear a shirt, hiking 2,200 miles every single day, it's not going to smell great after you're done. The only bit that had any sort of wear and tear was right on the hands, and that was totally a me thing because I'd have my thumbs through the thumb hole, and in New England when you're rock climbing every day, I would just rock climb and tear up the shirt. So the only flaw it has was a me issue, not an it issue. And I've already purchased another one of these in the AT print with all the little red newts on it. I love it. I love this shirt. Cannot recommend it enough. Next are my shorts. I got these in, I think, Pennsylvania when I got sick because I had lost so much weight that even my old elastic shorts were not working for me. I actually went through 3 pairs of shorts. The first one, chafing up the wazoo. Not good. Second one worked fine. It was just the same style as these, so kind of a running short, but with the biker short liner attached underneath. They just got too small. So I picked these up at Walmart for I think $13. I'm pretty sure they're a Lululemon like dupe, but they were absolutely fantastic, and they matched. It looks like a matching set with my shirt. So love these. Big thick waistband. They fit. There was there's a little side pocket that I never used ever. I think it's meant for your keys while you're running, but like you can't fit anything in there. But they were great. Zero chafing issues after that switch. This also went on my head. I'm not really going in order. Yikes. But this is my buff. It is an AET buff. It's nice and long. And I folded it and wore it on my head every single day that I wasn't wearing my hat. Or I kept it on my neck at night when it was freezing cold. I put it over my ears when it was cold. But it's adorable. It has the whole AT on it. And you can fold it different ways. When you only have one accessory, you make it fun. So like I would fold it so like the flowers were facing out. Or I could fold it so the AT symbol is facing out. Or it might have been like, I was feeling like it was a bear kind of day, but I would fold it in different ways so you could see different things. So 10 out of 10, everybody should have a buff. Everybody should have a buff. It is so versatile. I used it as a pillowcase at some points, like you slip it over your pillow and it's like nice and soft. This has a million different uses. Bring a buff on backpacking trips. Undergarments had sports bra, zipped up the front, no name brand, just whatever's comfy and synthetic so it won't stink to high heavens. I mean, it still stank to high heavens, but I wore this every single day. The zipper up the front, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Like every other backpacker ever, ex officio underwear. It's synthetic. It's a wee bit expensive, but worth it. I had 3 pairs of those. I think I had 2 ex officio and 1 just like no name brand synthetic, and they worked great. They worked the whole time. I mean, a little wear and tear, but they're popular for a reason. Next, around my neck, I have my neck knife. This is from CRKT is the brand, and this is the minimalist, like little neck knife. It's small, it's great. I wore it around my neck every single day. Tightened up, it was great. I got this in Hot Springs. I want to say Hot Springs. But its main purpose was cutting up avocados and summer sausage and cheese. But it was really nice to have like an accessible knife when you needed it. Next, on my feet, we'll start with what I put on first. So these are inside out. The ever so popular Injinji toe liners. And these were fantastic. These are essentially to make sure that you prevent blisters around your toes. Now, while I did get some blisters on my big toes at the beginning, these were really great in keeping the blisters to a minimum. So these went on my feet first. I went through, I think, 3 pairs of these. They wear out quickly because like these are the ones that I finished with, and like there's holes all up in them. They were falling apart, but just know that you're going to need multiple pairs. So like if you get to REI or your local store or whatever, and they're having like a 3-for-1 like sock sale, buy 3 of the exact same pair of liners so you can send them to yourself while you hike. Next thing I'd put on my feet would be Darn Tough ankle length socks. And this, I went through 2 pairs of these. Essentially, I had this exact pair. I wore a hole through the back, and then I did the Darn Tough exchange, which is essentially like Darn Tough has a lifetime guarantee. If you wear a hole in it, you can bring it to a participating store, exchange them for a brand new pair of socks. No charge to you. I literally, this was in Manchester Center, Vermont. I took them off my feet like 20 minutes before then. And I walked in, I was like, hi. I was like, I need to do a Darn Tough exchange. I was like, now, these just came off trail. Like, I can go to the hostel and wash them. Like, just let me know what the process is like. The guy goes, oh no, takes them from me, puts them in a bag, ties it up, goes, I have the exact same pair, hands me a new pair of socks, and that was it. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to sign anything. Phenomenal. So, next were my gaiters. These are Dirty Girl gaiters. I got these in Gatlinburg, and these essentially sit on the outside of your shoe. They latch on and then Velcro on the back, and they prevent like dirt and twigs and pebbles and just stuff from getting in your shoes. If you are going on an extended backpacking trip, you need these. You need these. You need these. 10 out of 10. I wore holes in mine, but they were fantastic. Like, there's nothing more annoying than having a pebble in your shoe or dumping out like cups and cups of dirt at the end of the day. That kept everything out so you could just keep walking. Speaking of shoes, I have them in a bag because they're so dirty and gross and falling apart. So I ended with the Hoka Speed Goats. I had 5 pairs of shoes on this trip, 4 of which were Hoka Speed Goats. I had them in a few different colors, but these were fantastic for my feet. A lot of people wore Ultras. A lot of people did Topos or boots or whatever. But my number one tip about shoes is find the pair that works for you and do not change it. Now, a lot of people are like, don't order shoes like before you go, your feet will get bigger. This is true, but I switched to Topos and my feet like freaked out. Like my Achilles started getting irritated and like hard, and I was getting blisters. It was bad. It was not good. So I learned my lesson, stick with the shoes you know. And personally, mine were the Hoka Speed Goats. Find the one that works for you and then stick with it. You can experiment with different shoes when you get home. All right, so that's everything I wore. Moving on to my fanny pack. I have just a REI fanny pack. This is giant. It is absolutely giant. A lot of people wore fanny packs. 10 out of 10 would recommend wearing a fanny pack. This is excessive, and I'm aware of that. But here's how I made it function for me. So there's like 2 like water bottle pockets. I still have trash in here. Yikes. Okay, anywho. On this side, I kept my Garmin InReach. I did get the full size one because that's the one I already owned. I would recommend, if you don't already own an InReach, to get the mini because, you know, lighter, smaller. But I had this on me and was able to send messages home even if I didn't have service. I used the tracking function, which kind of kills the battery, but it was nice for like family to follow along where I was when I was at home. So that lived here at all times. And then on this side, like I just said, there's a Snickers bar here. I love this for me. This is where, when I was walking and I would eat snacks, this was like my little mini trash can. So I would have a Snickers and I would just like throw the trash in there. And then before I'd go to bed at night, I'd take all my trash out and put it in my bear bag so I can hang it so like critters wouldn't come for this. But this was like my little mini trash bag. In the front here, this little front pocket, is where I kept my bug net. Towards the end, when it was buggy and gross all the time, I wanted that to be easily accessible. So if the bugs were just too much, I could whip it out, put it on my head, and be good to go. Now the main pocket, I kept my electronics bag in my fanny pack. This was kind of different. Essentially, why I did that, and I'll go through what's in here in a second. Why I did that is because I wanted to, if an emergency situation were to arise and I had to abandon this, I would have everything I would need to get out of the woods safely on me. So I had my InReach, I had battery bank cords, whatever. I always had snacks on me. I'll get to in here where my wallet was in a second. Like I could take this and bolt if I needed to. Thankfully that never happened, but that's why I put this in here. Not that I needed it throughout the day. So in here, first of all, Hilltop Packs. I designed this little pouch. It has little bats on it and a bunch of like, you know, symbols for electronic things. But I designed this little dual pocket pouch. There's 2 sides. It's for you to put your stuff in. So dual pocket pouch to put my electronics in. I love these pouches. They are great. If you have a hankering to design things, they offer that choice, or they also have like solid colors, or you can pick one of their designs. It's great. We love Hilltop Packs. It's kind of crinkly and loud, but it never let water into my electronics. That was good. So on one side, I kept my Anchor battery bank. This is very excessive. This is 20,000 milliamps of battery power, and I would recommend that if you're filming, because I had lots of stuff to keep charged. Like my camera, my InReach, my headphones, which I don't have on me, but we'll talk about in a second. My headphones, my little tiny air pump, like my phone in general, and a lot of things to keep charged. So I went with the big one and never had an issue with like running out of battery. I didn't run out of battery one time. And that was because I was very conscious about how much I was using and how much I was charging. So with that, I have this little bitty itty tiny, just a couple of inches long C cord. And I would plug this in and I would charge my stuff. And it was great. So there's that. On the other side, I would keep my wall charger. This is just a very generic fast charger, and it had a USB port and then a C to C port, and I would use these two cords with it. So I have two different cords, and originally I was just gonna stick with this tiny little cord to charge my like phone and stuff and everything that used that C cord. Get at least a 2-foot one or at least a 4-foot one, because a lot of hostels, like where you have to plug your stuff in, the tiny little cord wouldn't be enough, so it's not like hanging in midair. So get at least a 2-foot cord. Pro tip. And whereas I thought everything I was bringing would be a C, apparently my Garmin is still like the micro USB, so that was kind of unfortunate. So I did have to bring two different cords to charge things. But the new InReach Mini has this cord, so would recommend getting that one. So I have two charging cords. All right. And the last thing in there, itty bitty teeny tiny, I put a piece of spike tape on it. If you're a theater person, this is spike tape, just so I could not lose it. But this was an itty bitty adapter for me to put my camera, little tiny memory card, and transfer all of that footage onto my phone for me to edit. So that's how I got that across. So this itty bitty teeny tiny adapter and my little flag so I don't lose it. So that was everything in here. Next, and the top little zipper, like this folded over. So the top zipper pocket, two things are missing from in here, but I'll talk about them. It's my headphones. I had a pair of corded headphones and a pair of like the bone headphones. 10 out of 10 would recommend carrying both, because my orange headphones had to be charged, and if they ever died, I would use the corded ones. Or like when I was in town editing, I'd use the corded ones, because the orange ones, the bone ones, had the slightest delay, and it made editing kind of hard. So those are those two things that were in there. And then I had my DJI camera batteries. One's missing because I'm using it. So you're currently being filmed on a DJI Action 3. That's the camera I used, and these were the batteries that it came with. So this was like, you would plug this in and you charge all your batteries. It also had space to put your little micro SD cards at the top. So that's the battery and the camera that I used. The last thing in this big pocket is attached to it, so like there's this little cord, is my little Swiss Army knife. And I mostly use this for the tweezers and the scissors. And that was mostly used for ticks, like getting ticks. I only had to get one out of me, thank goodness, throughout the whole trip. But if I did have several crawling on me, I would tweezer them and then cut them in half. Call me cruel if you want to, but ticks are bad, and they won't do anything but just reproduce after that. So if I found one, I got rid of it. So that was that. And then I use the scissors a lot for opening packages, because, you know, that's what Swiss Army knives are for, right? All right, last pocket, back pocket, is where I kept my Ziploc baggie full of like important things. So I have my tiny journal. I had my wallet, which I kept cash, cards, you know, important documents. I also put things in here that I like wanted to keep safe. Like I had a necklace in here that I purchased and I didn't want to wear it and lose it, but I also, you know, wanted to keep it safe. So I ever got like stickers or cards or something, like just anything I wanted to keep dry and safe, I would put in here. But in my wallet, like I said, like my license, credit cards, cash, whatever. I also had in here my grandmother's church gave me this little card to keep with me, kind of like a prayer card, and there's like a verse on the back, but I kept this with me the entire time, and I very much appreciated them looking out for me while I was gone. What else? What is this? Oh, this is when I was in the Whites, my like little free food pass for just tiny stuff. So that was everything that was in my fanny pack. Okay, now to the main event, my bag. And I'm going to try to do this quickly. I've already been talking for 21 minutes unedited, so fun times. All right, so with my bag, we'll talk about what the bag is first. I love this bag. I will never stop talking about this bag. This bag is fantastic, and no one else was using it. I saw 0 people with this bag. The only other person that had this exact bag was my friend Woodchuck, and she purchased it because I recommended it. So she was the only other person who had this bag, and she liked it, and I love it, and I think it's fantastic. I carried this from beginning to end. There are 0 holes. Now, it is dirty. It is smelly, but I was not gentle with it at all, in any way, shape, or form. I dragged this up and down the East Coast. Well, I guess up the East Coast. Anywho, this bag is fantastic. It is the 6 Moon Designs Minimalist V2. Now, the caveat is, they do not sell this exact bag anymore. They have added a few features to their V2, and it is now their, upgraded version. They no longer sell it in this color, which is unfortunate because I love the bright red color. Nobody else on trail had a bright red bag. I always knew which one was mine. When there were 8 black hyperlights and they were like, oh, whose is whose? I was like, mine's the red one. And it made me easy to see from far away too. That was also a big factor. They knew it was me because, bright red pack halfway up a mountain. Oh, there's Bad Bot. There you go. But this pack is fantastic. I'll talk about the features as I go through them, but so good. So good. So let's just start. I'll start on the outside. So first item on this pocket, which is a taller side pocket that is stretchy on the outside. I have my umbrella, also 6 Moon Designs. I love my umbrella. I would highly recommend using an umbrella. It was great to have, obviously, on rainy days, just to give you a little bit of shelter if you wanted to, stop and eat, or just not have rain pounding on your head for, hours and hours and hours and hours on end. And when it started raining in June, it didn't stop ever. This was nice to have. It was also nice to have on bright sunny days to keep the sun off of you. So I would 10 out of 10 recommend bringing an umbrella with you. Next on this side were my tent stakes. So these, I had 12 with me at the time to use with my Gossamer gear, the one, which I also kept out here. And how I stored this was, and I thought this was pretty smart on my part, I used Tyvek as a ground sheet to prevent holes from appearing in my tent. That didn't end up happening, but I don't think it was the Tyvek's fault. But I would roll my tent in the Tyvek because I didn't want anything puncturing my tent from the outside. Now, there are 0 punctures on this outside pocket. And like I said, I was not gentle with this pack. It scraped up against thousands and thousands of trees. And God knows what else of me throwing it on the ground. But Tyvek is a ground sheet. I had my stakes, and then this is my Gossamer gear. The one. I got this in Damascus. Now, did I miss my tarp tent rainbow, which I started with? Absolutely. That tent is a palace, and I love it very, very much. But it was just too big, and I could not pack it down, and all I could think about was dropping an extra 10 ounces and getting this instead. So I did, and it worked fine. I got used to having a single wall tent. I got used to having a single person tent, but it has a million holes in it. I don't know what I did. I don't know how I set it up, but in the canopy, and on the top, none of the holes were in the bottom. So I guess my Tyvek did okay. But I patched 7 total holes that just happened in this tent. Only one of them did I consciously, I saw it happen because I had my scissors open and I accidentally stabbed a hole in the netting. So that's the only one where I made the mistake. I don't know how else the others happened, but at some point, something made holes in it. I don't know if I would recommend this tent. It worked for me for, 1,700 miles or however long I had it. But there are other small, light tents that would perform as well as this one, I believe. So it worked for me. It is a good, not breaking the bank, ultralight option. So if your goal is to have a decently priced ultralight tent, I would recommend this, but I'll talk about all 3 of the tents I used in another video. So moving swiftly along. We'll just circle around the back here. So on the back here, I have my Kula cloth, which if you did not know is essentially a pee rag for those of us who squat when we pee. So this was fantastic. So you didn't have to use toilet paper every time, and then you'd have to pack that out. So no bueno. So I have mine. They have a bajillion different designs. Mine has little campfires and marshmallows on it. So I would just wash that when I got into town every single time. It was great. Right next to it is my hand sanitizer. So basically, I just kept this on the outside and would refill it when it was empty. So I could, sanitize before eating and, after the privy and blah, blah, blah. So it was easily accessible. So right next door to that is my AT tag. This was on my bag the entire time. I've got it on there with 2 tiny zip ties that I definitely got at a hostel because they didn't give me anything to attach it to my bag at the very beginning. So I've got my number 80 tag on there. All right, so going around here, I'll talk about this since we're on the outside. I had my camp shoes attached to the outside, and I would just, clip these on and then take them off and use my camp shoes. Now, I only used these for a river crossing once. Every other river crossing, my feet were already drenched anyway, so I just went through with my shoes. But these were quite literally camp and town shoes, just to give my feet a rest from being in the same trail runners every single day. And also over here is my tiny thermometer. It's just a little click button thermometer. Tells you, how hot it is. And I use this a lot in the winter to help me determine if it was cold enough that I needed to put my water filter into my sleeping bag. But it was just kind of nice to know what the temperature was. So I think that's everything on the back here on the outside. So we'll go into the big stretchy pocket here on the outside. So I have 2 clips that release this top flap. And then that gives me full access to this stretchy pocket. So on the outside, I kept my filter. So this is my water filter, my CNOC bag, and my little plunger to back flush everything. So this was my water system. It's not the system I started with, but if you missed it in Pennsylvania, I got Giardia. So new water system it was. So I went with ye old trusty Sawyer and the CNOC bag to match. So that stayed on the outside. Worked well for me, the back half of trail. Also out here, I kept my bathroom bag, and it had toilet paper, wipes, etc., for, going to the bathroom in the woods. Next is my rain gear. So this is my Paca by Cedar Tree. This was essentially a jacket poncho combo that I would throw over me the many times it rained this season. We had such a good stretch in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York, that section. It just didn't rain. And then it started in Massachusetts and it did not end ever. But this was great. I would highly recommend this to someone looking for rain gear. Now, it is not the lightest by any means, but you are all covered. So normally it's a jacket and a pack cover, but the straps of your bag get soaked and your fanny pack would get soaked. This kept everything on the inside, and this plus my umbrella was a really, really good combo. Overkill? Yes, but I enjoyed it. So a lot of people have asked me questions about this. I definitely can talk about it in another video. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comments. All right, so that's all that was out here. I would also keep bigger snacks. If I had a bag full of cereal, I'd put it out here. If I had chips, I'd put it out here. Toward the end, I started buying Pringles. Every resupply, I'd put them out here. So just bigger snacks that I didn't want crushed inside my bag, I would put out here. All right, moving along. On this side, I have nothing in here right now because I tossed them before getting on an airplane to come home. This short pocket side is where I would put my 2 smart water bottles. So I had a full liter one and then a 700 milliliter one with a little sport cap on top. So normally I would put the full liter in the back and the one with the sport cap on the front so I could reach back, pull it out, take a drink, put it back in. Now, a lot of packs, it's kind of hard to like get to those pockets. This was pretty easy. And I'm like, I guess I'm semi-flexible. I don't know. I don't consider myself an extra flexible person. And I was able to just reach, do it, and put it back in without even looking. No problem. So that's what I put over here. Coming up front, this is about, 90% of the reason I got this bag, and I loved it every step of the way. Your chest strap is like a running vest. So you have 2 chest straps that you can adjust what height you want them, and it put a significant amount of weight that that normally is put on your shoulders when backpacking, and it put it on your core. So nice. So nice. And these were nice and breathable. A lot of people had questions about like, oh, it'll be hot in the summer and blah, 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 blah. You're going to be hot no matter what in the summer. This certainly didn't have any major effect on that. But there are tons of pockets and stuff in here. I didn't use the tiny pockets very much because if you overload these, it kind of like pushes into your chest. But you can if you want to. I put tiny things in there sometimes. But mostly what I use these pockets for, this pocket is what I put my camera in. So while I was walking, I would have my camera sitting right here so I could pull it out, film, and pop it back in. No problem. It was great, and I didn't have to like dig anywhere to get my camera out. If I saw something cool, I could literally go like, whoop, press record, and have it be going. So that's what this pocket was for. On this side, I kept my bandana. This was essentially like sweat rag, snot rag, gross rag. Oh, I pulled it off, but this was sweat, snot rag. You need one. You need one. You need something just to sop up all the gross coming out of your face. And then on this side, I didn't have anything in these pockets normally, but like I said, if I had something small that I needed to tuck somewhere, it was there. Now, coming down to the bottom, as you can see, I have a foam pad strapped to here. I did this once before. When I lost so much weight, the hip belt no longer fit me. I could not crank it down enough. So with this bag, these straps are removable and the hip belt is removable. So you can replace them very, very easily. And that's what I did. So I ordered myself an extra small hip belt, which did fit all the way through. But I taped this in here because I had lost so much weight. Like, even though the hip belt fit and it was decently comfortable, I started getting bruises on my hips from the weight, like sitting on my hips like it's supposed to. So this just made it a little more comfortable. It is no fault of the bag. It was a fault of me losing so much weight so quickly. So do not take this as a sign that like, oh, it's not comfortable. It's not whatever. No, it's just my skin couldn't handle it. But it did fit and it was nice. So don't think, like I said, that was any issue of the bag. It was a me issue, not a them issue. And it did have, I appreciated this, the buckle to clip it had 2 adjustment points on each side. So you can really crank it down so it really fit your hips. Super nice. Now on the hip belt pockets, I had my fanny pack, so I didn't use these for like need items. So on this side, I kept my bear line and rucksack. So that's what lived over here. And then on this side, I kept Gorge, which is my tiny little plush bat who was with me the entire way. So little bat friend to go with Bad Bat. So this was Gorge's home. This is where he lived the entire trail. Okay, that's the entire outside. Inside we go. So on the top, when you unbuckle it, there is a pocket up here. Now, there is a stretchy pocket on the outside that I put my beanie in sometimes back when it was cold, but I didn't really use it in the summer. So in here, it was essentially my like ditty bag, which is just a bunch of small things that didn't really fit anywhere else. So Hairbrush, self-explanatory. Headlamp, I use the Nikkor NU25. I don't remember. It's the newer one that's USB-C charged. Has I got the bungee cord at the back with the non-slip here. It was great. It could bend up and down. It had the red mode. It had all kinds of modes. Great headlamp. No complaints. I had my Flex Tail little air pump that I used to fill up my sleeping pad, and it also doubled as a light. I love this luxury item. The people who had these were very envied by those who didn't. So when I'd get to a shelter, it is loud. It is really loud. So when I'd get to a shelter or whatever, I'd be like, sorry guys, I'm going to be loud for a second. And then I would do this to fill up my pad, and people were like, what? Because, you don't have to blow it up. Favorite luxury item. It was super great. Also, I have my medical kit in here. I won't dig through it. It's just a basic, first aid kit. I had a little, you can hear it, pill bottle full of just, Tylenol PM. And I took iron pills so I wouldn't become anemic on trail. I had, Benadryl, Band-Aids, fingernail clippers, repair tape, for blisters and stuff. Just a general first aid kit was up here. I also kept my trowel up here, and I did this because originally I kept this in my bathroom bag, but my trowel, I've got the dig. It was great. It's serrated at the top because a lot of time when you went to dig a cat hole to, go to the bathroom in the woods, it was the ground was hard, especially in the winter. It was very difficult to get the 6 to 8 inches like you were supposed to. But these serrated edges kept poking through and just destroying the bags I was putting them in. So I would get it as clean as I could, decently clean, get all the dirt off, and then I would just throw it up here, and it never punctured this at all. At all. There are 0 holes in here, and this was scraping on it for 2,200 miles. So there's that. Last thing I have in here is my C2 Summit Airlight Towel. Essentially, I got this at Outdoor 76 in Franklin, North Carolina, because I very silly, knocked over a water bottle in my tent and realized that I did not have, besides my, snot rag, which I'm not going to use to sop up water, too, I didn't have anything that could absorb water quickly and wipe off my tent for condensation or whatever. So I got this, I don't know, this has got to be an ounce. Very, very, very light, small microfiber towel that I could use to sop up condensation and spills and just that kind of stuff with. I also cleaned my sunglasses with these when I was wearing my sunglasses. So a little very, very light, multi-use towel just to have something to mop up stuff with. So that was everything in this top pocket. Now, last section. Roll top closure. Let's get inside, shall we? So on top, during the summertime, I kept my mid layer. I would just stuff this on top in case I got cold. It would be at the top, ready to go. So I had I think this is called a Radiize mid layer. It's a knockoff of the Melanzano, let's be real. It's that waffly micro grid texture, and you can see there's one hole in it that I sewed up, and that happened before I even started trail. But this is a great, great, great mid layer. There's a hood. There are hoodie pockets to go stuff in. It was super duper warm, not being very heavy. This is a great dupe if you're looking for that waffly micro good texture and you're not wanting to either A, travel to Colorado to get a Melly, or B, pay their obnoxious reselling prices online. Great substitute. Next was my food. So this is empty. But this is my food bag. Again, Hilltop Packs. Got my Bad Bat logo on there, and I covered it in tiny little bats. Never once did I have an issue with going, oh, there's a dozen blue Z-Packs food bags hanging or in a bear box. Which one's mine? I had no issues with that. So 10 out of 10 would recommend getting yourself a custom bag so you know which one's yours. And this thing is so, so light. So one thing I do have in here was my toothbrush and toothpaste, because like you're supposed to hang toothpaste because it has a scent to it, but I just kept it in here all the time. So I would just brush my teeth, throw it back in here, and be done. And then in my bag, there's a little like spoon holder, which is super nice. And I just had this silicone long-handled spoon. I got it from REI, but the silicone was nice because when very rarely cooked in my, let me get it, pot, I could scrape the edges without that horrific metal on metal sound, and I didn't damage my pot. So this was really, really nice. Now, did the silicone kind of hold on to flavors? Yes. Did that bother me enough to get a different one? No. So, good spoon. Next, my titanium pot. I got the little Tokes. I think this is the 650 titanium pot. Has the little handles. It's got a lid on it. This is like, I have zero complaints about this cooking setup. A lot of people use this because it is light and it is efficient. And we love it. And I did most of my cooking just boiling water and putting it into a freezer Ziploc bag for my stuff to rehydrate. So that worked out well. Now I do not have fuel in here because obviously you can't take fuel on an airplane coming home. But my fuel, my lighter, which I also don't have, story in a second, and my tiny stove and my little pack towel all fit in here. I didn't have to store it separately. So I had my little pack towel. This was essentially, I would like put this down on picnic tables or the ground or wherever I was eating. So I'd have like a place to fix my dinner that wasn't just putting tortillas in the dirt. And it also kept my fuel can from rusting or scraping up the outside of my pot. Next, my tiny little BRS stove. This was a pretty popular choice. I got it off of Amazon. It was like $17, worked like a charm. Now again, mostly I was boiling water, so I did not use this for like extended periods of time. But folds out just like this. You would turn it on, you'd use your lighter, light it. It was great. It was fine. It worked perfectly. Never had an issue with it. But I don't have my lighter. Essentially, I think it was the last day or the last night we were in the 100 Mile Wilderness, we came across a Sobo who had lost his lighter. So he was in the 100 Mile without a light, like the beginning for him of the 100 Mile without a lighter. So like he wasn't able to cook anything. So I just gave him mine. Irish let me use theirs for that last dinner that I cooked. So we traded a lighter. He gave me some Reese cups. Pretty good trade in my brain. So that was my cooking set up. Next, I used a trash compactor bag as my bag liner. So everything that I'm about to pull out would always live in this trash compactor bag because it was the things that I needed to keep dry no matter what. So even though my bag is, I think, water resistant, I don't think the inside of my bag ever got wet ever. So another pro for the Minimalist V2. But just for some, extra security, we had that. So the first thing I'm pulling out is my clothes bag. This is a hyper light storage pod. I think this is the large. It is the large. But it is like bag shaped. So it's straight at the top. It is curved on the side so it fits down into your bag almost perfectly. And you don't have to have a hyper light bag to use one of these. Now, yes, you can, and it fits perfectly in theirs too, but just about any other backpack this is gonna fit nicely into. So in here are the clothes that I would only pull out like at night or like, I didn't need them during the day. So I have my Outdoor Research puffy. I love this puffy. It's made out of some sort of like magical down that doesn't it doesn't have to be super dry. Like even if it's wet, it will still insulate you, which is nice. I think it's called like Hydro Loft. I have no idea, but I love this puffy. It has thumb holes. It has pit zips. It kept me very, very warm through the winter and, spring and summer when it decided to get cold at night. It had a nice big hood that cinched down. It had zippered pockets. We love it. We love this puffy. It was fantastic. I met a couple of other people with it, and everybody loved it. So it was a solid puffy. I would buy that again. Next in here are my sunglasses that I hardly ever wore ever. I probably should have sent home sooner, but they are the sunglasses with the like cord on the back. And I mean, they look pretty cool. I got them as a birthday present to Bad Bat from Bad Bat. So, I mean, they look cool. They were nice. I wore them a handful of times in town, but I just didn't wear them in the summer because A, I had my hat and my sun hoodie, and B, you were in and out of trees so much that wasn't really necessary. And I also didn't want to get big raccoon tan lines. So, probably should have sent these home, but that's where they lived when I had them. Next are my little biker shorts. Just nothing. I think I've had these for, 10 years, 15 years, something like that. Just biker shorts to sleep in. And I'm pretty sure these are cotton. So don't let anybody scare you away from wearing cotton at night. It's not an issue if you're dry. All right. Next, my sleep shirt, which I had the whole time, was a smart wool, merino wool, black t-shirt. And I will say, this doesn't smell. And I wore this a lot when I didn't smell great. Like, merino wool, it's expensive, it's worth it. I never had any issues with the t-shirt. I will say the merino wool leggings that I brought from Smart Wool that were really inexpensive got like 1 million holes in them. So, t-shirt, yes. Their leggings, no. Because the leggings that did last the entire trip were my $5 Rule King fleece-lined leggings. These were the ones I slept in. I hiked in them a couple times, but when you hike in fleece wool, like fleece-lined things, it gets hot very quickly. But these lasted, no holes, no issues, super comfy the entire time. So, more expensive does not always mean better, people. Next, I had my sleep socks. I had a pair of little wee bear, darn tough socks, and these were the ones I slept in. Like I said, I hiked in them a couple of times, just like my fleece. Like, essentially, if I knew I was walking straight into town, I would just leave my pajamas on. So these have been hiked in a few times, but mostly they were sleepwear, so I haven't like worn any holes in them or anything. I just thought they were cute, and having a different pair of dry socks to put on at night was fantastic. Last thing I have in here, I'm missing one somewhere. I carried 2 extra pairs of underwear. This is just a no-name, like, synthetic one. Ex officio, like I said earlier, was what I wore most of the time, but this was just one extra. I carried 3 pairs, and I would, change them out. And I always like to have a clean pair to wear with loaner clothes. That's something a lot of people don't think about. Like, if you bring 1 pair or 2 pairs of underwear and they're both horrifically dirty by the time you get to town, like, what are you going to wear with your loaner clothes? So I always had a clean pair to wear when I got into town. All right, next, we are almost there. I know this is a horrifically long video, so thanks if you're still watching. I've got my sleeping bag liner. So this is the Sea to Summit Compact Therma React, some sort of long, silly name, sleeping bag liner. Essentially, this is like a soft material liner that you would use as kind of like your sheet, and it added 20 degrees of extra warmth. I got this, or I brought this, I already owned it, when I was in Virginia, when I switched out to my summer bag, which is, down in here, because on nights that were super hot, I knew I would just use this, but on nights where it got colder, I knew I would need both of them together to be warm enough. Plus, you can wash this. I washed this in towns. Also, it worked great for like a laundry bag. Like, I would throw all the rest of my clothes in here and then just dump it into the laundry room, because like otherwise you're just walking through a hotel or wherever, a hostel, with just an armful of stuff. So I love this. I really wish that was one of the things I put in a box and sent home to go ultralight that I wish I had kept. All of that in a different video. Okay, next. These 2 things. I'll talk about this one first. So this is my pillow. It is a Trekology pillow. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I kept this the entire way. This is the only part of my sleep system that lasted the entire way without me switching it out. But it's just an inflatable pillow with a strap on the back. The strap is the best part, because when you have an inflatable pillow and an inflatable mattress, they're slick and it slides around and you'd wake up without your pillow half the time. But the strap kept it on there, and it was so nice. So Trekology pillow. It was nice and big. It was great. It was wonderful. Would recommend again. Next, I have my Thermarest Neo Air in X T light, whatever the new version is. But I got the women's version, and I got that not because, you know, I'm a lady, but because it was slightly shorter than the other ones. I did not want a full length because A, this was lighter, and B, it was slightly better R value. I mean slightly. So I think this was 66 inches, I want to say. And then the R value was 4 point something. I'd have to look up the stats. But I got this in a whole fiasco with, I had a Nemo tensor. They got a hole in it and they couldn't replace it fast enough. And then I got one temporarily because the gear shop I was in only had 2 options, and that one was really short and I wasn't sleeping well on it. So I went and ordered myself this one, and it worked fantastic. No holes, no nothing. It was not super loud and crinkly, because that was my worry with the Thermarest, because they kind of sound like chip bags. But whatever they've done on this new version, a lot quieter. So thank you, Thermarest, for hearing our cries of despair about sleeping next to a crinkly chip bag all night. All right, last item is, well, here's my liner, is my Green Caterpillar summer sleeping bag. This is from, I got it off of Amazon for like $100 a million years ago when I was just starting out backpacking and I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I was just, you know, seeing if I liked this activity. But it is a summer bag for sure. I think the comfort level was like 53 degrees. But it is a zippered bag, a little Velcro at the top, zipper goes both ways. It's a pretty, very simple, cheap bag, but it is like full caterpillar mode. And this was great. It worked great. It leaked a lot of down, which is kind of a thing for all bags, but it worked fantastic, and I already owned it, and it didn't break the bank. So this worked very, very well for summertime. I had this for over half the trail and was very impressed with how warm it kept me when it got randomly cold sometimes, and how I could unzip it and just use it kind of like a quilt, like open on top of me. It was very versatile and great. And I thought it was hilarious that it made me look like a caterpillar when I was all zipped up in it. Weird cut clip in the middle of here, because I forgot about one of the most important pieces of gear I had with me, my trekking poles. I totally forgot about them because, you know, they weren't with my bag, but I had a pair of black diamond trekking poles. Look at that. These things are so incredibly abused. The only bits that are okay are the tips, because I replaced them literally 100 miles before the end at Shaw's. I replaced the metal tips once on my first pair of tips in New York, and then they snapped off right before I got to Shaw's. So these bits are brand new. The rest of it have been completely abused. So I have duct tape rolled around this side and Luco tape rolled around that side. I used both several times on trail. The cork definitely got chewed on by a mouse at some point, and the straps are literal shreds. Essentially, at some point, a mouse got a hold of my trekking poles, I assume when I was in a shelter, and bit these to bit holes in here, and those tiny holes turned into, you know, just the straps completely falling apart. But these were fantastic. Bring trekking poles. If you were on any kind of backpacking trip, bring trekking poles. Not only were these my tent poles, but also I can't hike without them anymore. It's insane. So, like, you put your hand through here, and then you hold on. A lot of people hold them differently, but like you put your hand up and then around. So then if you fall, like, you're not going to like break your thumb. If you did it this way, if you fell, like, your thumb's going to break. So up and around, if you can, at least on Black Diamonds, if you can see the logo, you're holding it correctly. So you hold it like this and you go up, and especially down. I would put my hand here and like brace myself going down. But these are fantastic. So bring a pair of trekking poles. All right. So that was everything that I had with me for not all, but most of the Appalachian Trail. And I would honestly, like, if you were to tell me, hey, you're doing another through hike tomorrow, pack a bag, I would pack this exact setup and be really happy with it. Like, there was nothing, like, by the time I got to the end, I had switched out, and I'm going to talk about this in other videos, I had switched out enough of my gear to figure out what worked for me. Because if I can tell you anything, if you're watching this video trying to figure out like new products for you or what do I need for backpacking, I will say backpacking gear is so personal that you're going to have to figure out what works for you. If you take my exact list and you go out and you purchase everything on it, half of it might not be to your style. Half of it might not work for you, but it works for me. So you kind of have to do the best research you can and then figure out what works for you and stick with it. That is my like number one piece of gear advice is you cannot take someone else's gear list and assume that it's going to work perfectly for you. So take everything I took with me with a grain of salt. I will recommend this stuff from here until the cows come home, but what works for you is obviously what's going to be best. So if you want more post-trail content, I'm not going anywhere. It's just videos are going to be once a week instead of every single day now. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of it. And if you have any post-trail ideas that you want to see, hear me talk about, etc., pop those in the comments below. I have lots of ideas for different videos I want to do, but I would love to hear what you guys would want to see. So if you want more of that content, like I said, subscribe. I also have an Instagram account, but for now, happy trails.